the first quarter, it was obvious that Africa's largest economy was heading into a sharp decline, led in the main by stubborn low oil prices, falling output, revenue shortfall, the impact of foreign exchange ban on some 41 items, and a general drop in industrial production. By half-year, the economy was already gasping for breath, and the central bank moved in on June the 15th with a new flexible foreign exchange regime.
Complementary administrative measures were also taken towards achieving this goal, among which was the directive to IMTUs to sell forex directly to bureau de change operators in order to improve liquidity in that segment of the foreign exchange market.
But the key challenge for the estimated 160 million people economy was beyond a new foreign exchange system. The Buhari's administration was not injecting massive funding as it drains trillions of naira from the banking system into the Treasury's single account. By July, however, the administration begins some fiscal spending, but its effects were hardly felt as nearly 27 state governments were owing salaries and pensions, and the trickle-down effects start to hit the streets.
When you're in a recession, ideologically, you spend your way out of it. And you spend impactfully, and you spend in such a way that it creates inclusive growth. That means employment. So a recession is defined as contraction in economic activity coupled with high unemployment, weakness in the financial system, and a reduction in confidence.
Grappling with the state of economy now in recession, the Buhari's administration turns to international community for help.
We're going to provide support for $1 billion. That's general budget support. But there are issues around that in terms of policy reforms that the government has committed itself to, which also are part of that, discussion that we have had. But in addition to that, between 2016 and 2017, we're going to invest in total in different sectors, right? A total of, 4.1 billion US dollars in the Nigerian economy.
Now the government securities market, where local investors were smiling with the record yields the government was paying, analysts were concerned about the sustainability of domestic investors' confidence.
The assumption that the government could approach the capital market, that is currently being put to test. The reason is because the monetary policy hand has been tightening and the liquidity mop-ups have been putting rates at very unsustainably high level, at the money market end.
But while Nigerians will remember the outgoing year for a number of negative reasons, the year 2016 and President Muhammadu Buhari will be remembered for doing away with harrowing queues at the petrol stations, the staunch support of the National Assembly against increase in electricity rates, and the crushing of the wild ride of the deadly Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. Bosin Omofaye for Channels Business News.
A spokeswoman for the U.S. President-elect Hope Hicks says Mr. Donald Trump has no meeting planned with the Republic of Congo President Denis Sassou. The Congolese president's spokesman Thierry Mongala earlier said Mr. Sassou, a member of the African Union's high-level committee on Libya, and Mr. Trump were scheduled for a U.S. meeting on Tuesday to discuss the political turmoil in Libya and other African issues. But Ms. Hicks says there had never been a meeting scheduled and there will not be one before Mr. Trump takes office on January 20th. The president-elect has been holding a series of meetings at his home in Palm Beach, Florida, as well as the Trump Tower in New York City, as he prepares to assume the White House from Democratic U.S. President Barack Obama. Most of the meetings have centered on possible candidates to serve in his administration, including his cabinet. Mr. Trump aides have said that he is scheduled to meet this week with Elsa Morano, who served as Undersecretary of Agriculture for Food Safety under President George W. Bush and is a possible contender for Agriculture Secretary, although no date was given. Mozambique's Renamo opposition party will cease all military operations against government forces for the next 7 days to allow the public to enjoy New Year festivities. That's according to the group's leader, Afonso Dhlakama. Rights groups estimate that dozens of people have been killed this year in tit-for-tat attacks between Renamo fighters and the ruling Frelimo government. Renamo and Frelimo fought on opposing sides in a civil war from 1976 to 1992 in which 1 million people are thought to have died. Mozambique is on the verge of developing huge offshore gas reserves which could transform one of the world's poorest countries into a middle-income state. But analysts say competition to control this newfound wealth could stir unrest much further. The outgoing UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has been speaking on what he plans to do when he eventually leaves office. He says that working for a civil society will be one of the options, without hinting that he would run for the presidency of South Korea. In his last interview as UN Secretary General and his first interview at his official residence in New York City, the South Korean diplomat said that it will take time for him to get clearer as to what to do after quitting the UN post. Ban was chosen to lead the United Nations 10 years ago. Under the leadership, the world has struggled through a series of crises, from Syria to Iran and from Ebola to climate change.
I will have to think very seriously what I need to do, using my experience as former Secretary General of the United Nations, how I can do for my community, my country, or world at large. I'm ready to work as a member of a civil society for promotion of international peace and security and whatever is required to do. Well, I'm not in a position to say anything publicly at this time. I have been closely watching what has been happening in Korea, my home country. I have seen many millions of people expressing their anger and frustration at the lack of good governance. And there has been some question of some leadership, inclusive leadership.
Outgoing UN scribe Ban Ki-moon. Still to come on Network Africa. A look at how African entrepreneurs fared in the last year in a moment. Please stay with us.